everything's really different.
Mm-hmm. I think some of that's natural. I mean, I've worked at Rainbow Days 25 years, come this April. I can't tell you how many times I've been somewhere in a coalition meeting or even in an agency discussion and thought, okay, I'm not sure I belong.
Yeah. So there's times that you think you should fit in, and then you may not fit in. You may be around the right people, the right topic, but it just doesn't work.
Right.
And that's normal.
Your view doesn't jive, your perception, your understanding of something.
So that should be a negative, but it turns into a positive because you realize it.
Right.
Sometimes realizing things that just aren't going to work is okay.
Yes.
And being okay with it. I think a lot of times that we especially working with kids, they get stuck with, well, they're not going to like me, or, they don't like what I like. Obviously, when I was growing up, the music I liked was a lot different than other people. So I couldn't share what I liked with friends. And when I tried, they're like, what are you listening to? Because it wasn't popular then.
Oh, yeah.
Reggae was not popular when I was in my 13, 14 years old. So it was something that I kept to myself. But it made me happy.
Yeah.
And I was, if you don't want to listen to it, that's fine. Then I found a market where there was a lot of that. So I realized that there's certain things that I like that other people won't like. My family didn't like it. And I'm just talking about music, but it can happen with anything else. Has that ever happened to you, Ms. Maria? Or you've always been popular?
I've always been so not popular. No, I guess, when you're growing up, I think we all go through that phase where we just don't fit in, because I think we're constantly trying to figure ourselves out. Who are we? Do we belong with that group of people, or do we belong with that group of people? And sometimes we want to belong to a group of people that we're totally not part of, only because they're popular, or only because they're the good kids, the ones that, because I remember wanting to be one of the kids that always had the good grades, or the A honor roll, or perfect attendance. That's a group of people I wanted to belong to, but that's not who I ever belonged to.
Wow. Okay. Let me wrap my mind around that, Maria. Hold on. Let me think. So I wanted to be with the kids who got great grades, that were behaving. Wow.
But I wasn't a bad kid. So see, let me tell you, that's what I'm trying to tell you. We believe that we belong to a certain group of people, but maybe that's not who we belong to. I remember wanting to belong with, the good kids, the ones who always got awarded. But I also remember wanting to belong to the group of kids that were popular, not because they were smart and because they had perfect attendance, but maybe it was for all the wrong reasons. They were just popular, and they had a group that hung out in the cafeteria at a certain location, or if they went outside and they were always together. So a lot of times as we're growing up, we're always trying to figure ourselves out. Who are we? Are we this group, or are we this group? Or I think one of the things we don't want to believe is that we belong to our own group of people, and it is okay to belong to your own group of people.
Or that one group is better than another.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what did you find out your group of people was?
My group of people is just positive people. Positive people, smiling people. That's the group of people that I belong to.
So no matter what their grades were.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
As long as they were positive.
As long as they're positive. Because, having, A honor roll doesn't mean that
positive.
That they're positive, and vice versa. Having the bad grades doesn't mean you're negative either.
True.
Because I didn't ever have the best grades, and I wasn't a negative person.
I told you I was a veteran in high school, 5 years.
Yes, you've told us that several times.
Yes, and I was very positive. I was positive I didn't want to spend 6 years. I was so positive. I said, I will not be your 6 year. My little brother will not catch up to me.
Did he finally catch up? It sounds like he
stop.
did.
He did not catch up to me.
Did y'all graduate together?
No, we didn't. Almost. Almost. My kids almost caught up to me.
But 5 years doesn't make you a failure.
No, and like I said, I had to think of the positive. I had to, make the best of it. Hard to go back, and then people are like, "You're back?" I thought, yes, I'm back. So I had to make it positive. So how did I do that? Well, my goal was I will not spend another year here. I have to get out, but I want to graduate. I want to make it, and it was difficult, and I had to get over the shame. There's a lot of shame in that. And nobody really,
I hate that.
Nobody really made fun of me about it because there were several others that were veterans also, so we were in good company. It was that internal embarrassment that I had, that a failure, or am I ever going to do this? And it was scary, but I made it. Like I told you in the other podcast, it was visualizing. But definitely keeping a positive attitude and not hanging out with the negative, because I did go through a little moment of that sulking, like what you were talking about, Cindy. You listen to the music, and I remember stretching that out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then now it becomes part of me on a daily basis or weekly basis. Poor me.
Right.
And I become basically a victim of my own, mentality. And it took me a little while to get out of that. It took me a little while.
Yeah, I like TED Talks. I don't know if y'all know what TED Talks are. You can go to YouTube and you can Google TED Talks, and there's all kinds of, conversations. But there was I'm doing TED Talks with my daughter at night, watching them, not doing them. But we were watching one on self-esteem, because I think every adolescent needs to help their self-esteem. Every adult does too. Most adults don't have good self-esteem.
True.
But your self-esteem is a summation of your thoughts.
Right.
And you do have a choice about your thoughts. And oftentimes in middle and high school, even in elementary, you're thinking that you belong to the wrong group.
Right.
Why? What's wrong with your group? There's nothing wrong with your group.
Right.
Unless you're running with the thugs, then they're not bad people, but let's just get out of that.
Let's not get in trouble.
They're not going to have a good future, but finding the things about yourself that you like, and what makes the popular people popular, and do you want to be those people? Do you want to do what they're doing? I didn't always want to be what the popular people were.
Right. And then you lose yourself because...
You're trying to be somebody you're not.
Yeah, you don't. Well, I don't really like that music, but I'll leave mine so I can go here, and then you start losing yourself. Then you lose good people. I remember having good friends that I would turn my back on because I thought it was better. These people were better, and who was there in the end? The people that I abandoned. Because those are the positive ones. Those are the ones that will be there no matter what. Yeah. They're not necessarily people that are going to be, that stand out, but they stand out with you. And I think that a lot of things what got me thinking, I can do this, I can make it, was having those people that even though they had passed me, they were still around and they were still encouraging. And that helped me out a lot. So, those of you that are listening, and you're in this start, reach out to the people that you haven't talked to in a while.
Right.
Reach out to the people that have encouraged you and that got on your nerves maybe, and just listen to them. They're the ones that tell you, they see the goodness in you, and sometimes when you get to that dark place, you don't want to hear it. They'll say how smart you are, how talented you are, and then we shut down.
Right.
Have you had that done? Did you do that growing up, Ms. Maria? Or were you always positive? Did you ever get to a point where you were not in a good place?
I was constantly not in a good place.
Okay. So how did you motivate yourself to stay positive? Because I know life isn't perfect. We don't have, but it's what you make of it. It's what you do with it. And so what did you do?
I don't know exactly what it was that I did, but I do remember, having positive teachers who encouraged me, who were always, trying to push me into doing other things with my life. Like, I remember, my teachers were aware that I had a job, like my high school years, for example. And so they knew that, I had a job, and because of my job, I was not involved in like the extracurricular activities or the after school activities. And I had several teachers that wanted me to be part of the after school stuff.
Right.
And, I always turned them down because I had to work. But they always had like positive feedback for me. They were very encouraging. They would always tell me I was good at all of these different things that I wasn't even aware I was good at. Like I was good at writing, and I didn't know I was good at writing, or someone made me feel like I wasn't good at writing at one point in my life that, I stopped writing. But anytime I had to write for school, I would try to give my 100% and, give a good paper. So my English teacher saw that, and, he would recognize that. I also had a theater arts teacher who wanted me to be part of like the theater club.
Right.
And she would always tell me, like I was telling my daughter the other day, she told me, she said, Maria, you're going to work the rest of your life when you get older because it's part of life to work. Enjoy your high school time, be active in the extracurricular activities. I would love you to be part of the theater club because there's a lot of things that you're so good at.
And what's going on in your mind when they're telling you this?
We're like, to be honest with you, I'm still like in disbelief. Like, what in the world? Like, okay. What?
Cause,
like, really?
Because
like,
kids are listening, and if you're listening, just really listen to what she's saying. That's what I'm asking the question: is what did you feel? Because you're some of you have heard this, but how did you take it?
Yeah, I think, it, in a sense, it feels good to hear it, but at the same time, you're fighting it because you don't completely understand it. And I think for me, I didn't quite believe it. I was like, what? Me? Good at theater? I do a good job when I have to get up on stage and act because I had to do a lot of acting.
Right.
I had a lot of fun with it. Like, I remember having fun with it, but never to the extent that I would have expected a teacher to actually say, hey, Maria.
Where you thought you were good at something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think it came later, like, my junior, senior year, that I became a little bit more confident about myself and, with who I was becoming. Because I struggled my freshman year, sophomore year, middle school years. I don't think I ever belonged to anyone. Like, I never belonged to a group.
So sometimes it takes time.
Yes.
It takes time to find out who you are.
And it's okay for you to take your time with it, because you know what? At the end of the day, your life is going to be your life. So it doesn't matter. You don't belong to when you become a grown up and you have all these responsibilities. They're your responsibilities. They're not like your peers' responsibilities or those group of people.
Which isn't important right now. I mean, it is important to you, but if you look at the big picture, it's not going to be beneficial if it's negative.
Exactly.
If you end up in a negative, and some of you guys have really, when I hear stories, you guys have really gotten into the dark, and it's very difficult to come out of that because, you're talking about experimenting with drugs or just doing things that aren't good for you. If you already have a record and you're under 18, that's a path to always getting that. So how did you do it, Miss Cindy? How did you, how did you avoid the negative, or did you? I mean, maybe I don't know. You tell me. With growing up and then the peer pressures and following into a group.
I don't know. I think I was so much of a loner, I guess. I mean, I had a couple of friends, but they knew I was the nice girl, the nice, quiet girl. And so I think it was just the messaging that I didn't run with trouble. I didn't break the rules or talk back to teachers or anything. Because your reputation does come from a lot from who you're hanging with. But I'll also say, for me, confidence did not come until later in my adult years. And I mean, I always had the thought, even when I started here, that I was the dumbest person in the room. Nobody told me that. I just believed it. I
But
really believed it.